Most people think rituals need to be complicated, ancient, formal, highly structured. But often, the most meaningful rituals are surprisingly small. Lighting a candle before reading, opening a journal at the same time each morning, walking the same quiet path in the evening, or preparing tea. Not quickly, not while multitasking, but intentionally. One cup, one pause in the day, one moment of attention. And over time, those moments begin to shape the atmosphere of our lives. Welcome back to TeaMinded. I'm glad you're here. Today we're talking about creating a tea ritual at home, why rituals matter, why tea naturally lends itself to ritual, and how even a simple tea practice can bring a little more calm, rhythm, and intentionality into daily life. Modern life often feels fragmented. We move rapidly from one thing to another. Notifications interrupt conversations. Meals become rushed. Even rest can feel distracted. And because of that, many people feel disconnected from their own days. Tea rituals help restore continuity. Not because tea magically fixes stress or anxiety, but because rituals anchor attention. They create moments that belong fully to us. I think that's one reason tea rituals have endured across cultures for centuries. In Japan, tea became deeply connected to mindfulness, aesthetics, and hospitality. In China, tea gatherings often centered around conversation, reflection, and appreciation. In Britain, afternoon tea created rhythm within the day. Across many cultures, tea became more than refreshment. It became atmosphere. And the beautiful thing is, a tea ritual does not need to be elaborate. You do not need a dedicated tea room. You do not need expensive teaware. You do not need perfect technique. You simply need intention. That's really the heart of ritual. Doing something ordinary with attention. For some people, a tea ritual begins in the morning. The kettle heats slowly. Light enters the room. The world is still relatively quiet. Maybe it's sencha. Maybe it's matcha. Maybe it's a simple English breakfast black tea. The ritual becomes a transition into the day. Not immediately checking messages, not rushing into noise, just beginning slowly. For others, tea belongs to evening, a way of stepping out of work mode, a signal that the pace of the day is changing. Tea creates thresholds in time, and those thresholds matter more than we often realize. One of the simplest ways to create a tea ritual at home is to choose consistency. Not rigidity, just rhythm. Perhaps the same cup each morning, the same tea before reading, the same quiet preparation in the evening. Rituals become meaningful partly through repetition. Over time, even preparing tea can begin to signal calm to the mind and body. Environment also matters. Tea rituals feel different when the space itself encourages attention. This doesn't require perfection or minimalism, but small details help. Natural light, a favorite mug or tea bowl, a wooden tray, a quiet corner, music, or perhaps silence. Tea rituals are sensory experiences. You hear the water, you smell the leaves, you feel the warmth of the cup. And because the experience is physical and tactile, it gently pulls attention away from screens and back into the present moment. I think many people are rediscovering rituals right now because modern life often lacks them. We have routines focused on productivity, but fewer moments focused on presence. Tea quietly restores some of that. Not dramatically, but steadily. Another important part of tea ritual is removing unnecessary pressure. This is not performance. Your ritual does not need to look aesthetic for social media. It does not need to imitate a formal tea ceremony. Some of the best tea rituals are deeply personal and almost invisible to anyone else. A single cup before sunrise, tea while journaling, tea after a difficult day, tea shared with someone you love. Ritual becomes meaningful because it reflects care and attention, not perfection. One thing I've noticed about tea rituals is that they often create space for reflection naturally. Tea slows activity just enough that thoughts begin to surface. Sometimes clarity arrives, sometimes gratitude, sometimes simply stillness. And stillness itself has become rare. If you're interested in creating a tea ritual at home, here are a few simple starting points. First, choose one tea you genuinely enjoy. Do not overcomplicate this. Second, choose a consistent time: morning, afternoon, evening. Third, remove distractions. Even 10 uninterrupted minutes changes the experience. And fourth, pay attention to the process itself. The sound of the kettle, the aroma of the tea, the steam rising from the cup. Ritual begins when attention deepens, not perfection. One thing I've noticed about tea rituals is that they often create space for reflection naturally. Tea slows activity just enough that thoughts begin to surface. Sometimes clarity arrives, sometimes gratitude, sometimes simply stillness. And stillness itself has become rare. If you're interested in creating a tea ritual at home, here are a few simple starting points. First, choose one tea you genuinely enjoy. Do not overcomplicate this. Second, choose a consistent time: morning, afternoon, evening. Third, remove distractions. Even 10 uninterrupted minutes changes the experience. And fourth, pay attention to the process itself: the sound of the kettle, the aroma of the tea, the steam rising from the cup. Ritual begins when attention deepens. You may eventually explore Japanese tea rituals, gong fu tea preparation, matcha ceremonies, or specialized teaware, but none of those are required to begin. Tea rituals are ultimately less about expertise and more about awareness. I think that's why tea resonates so deeply with people seeking slower and more intentional living. Tea reminds us that ordinary moments still matter, that beauty often exists in small things, and that slowing down, even briefly, can change the texture of a day. As TeaMinded continues, we'll continue exploring tea culture, loose-leaf tea, Japanese tea, tea craftsmanship, brewing methods, and the deeper philosophy surrounding tea and thoughtful living. But for today, I hope this episode encourages you to create a little more space in your day, one intentional cup at a time. Thank you for listening to TeaMinded. If you enjoyed this episode, follow the podcast on Spotify and share it with someone interested in tea rituals, slow living, mindfulness, or creating a calmer daily rhythm. And until next time, put the kettle on, slow down a little, and stay tea-minded.